Hola, muy buenas tardes y sean
Good
todos
afternoon,
bienvenidos a la
everyone,
primera
and
sesión online
welcome
del
to the
Tenerife
first
Walking
webinar
Festival.
of the Tenerife
Este formato
Walking
digital nos
Festival.
va a acercar a un gran número de
This
personas interesadas en el
online
senderismo que,
format
con las circunstancias
will
actuales,
give
no
us
pueden
the
viajar o programar
possibility
sus rutas,
for
pero
everyone to
sabemos
be
que
here due
esta
to the
situación es temporal
pandemic, but this
y
is a
que la
temporary
naturaleza sigue allí
situation.
esperando
Nature
paciente
is
por
still
nosotros.
here,
Pronto nos
it's
calzaremos
waiting
de
for
nuevo las
us,
botas para
and
recorrer nuestros
then
senderos preferidos o nos embarcaremos al descubrimiento de nuevos caminos. Quienes vivimos en islas sabemos que nuestro aislamiento es también sinónimo de singularidad medioambiental y de diversidad. Por ello, cuando elegimos una isla como destino para nuestras caminatas, sabemos que vamos a encontrarnos con recorridos únicos en el mundo. En esta primera sesión vamos a presentar tres ejemplos de empresas con productos de senderismo que transitan por entornos de gran riqueza medioambiental y cultural, vinculados a rutas de largo recorrido en las islas de Azores, Baleares y Canarias. Y para ayudarnos con estos paseos virtuales acompañados por expertos en estas experiencias en islas, contamos con la ayuda impagable de Sofía Maul, que es storyteller y guía intérprete de patrimonio con base en
interpreter
Madeira.
guide based in Madeira.
Así que sin más dilación, le dejamos ya en
So,
manos de Sofía.
Sofia,
Buenas
I
tardes,
give you the
Sofía.
floor. Good afternoon, Sofia.
Hola, Diego, gracias.
Hello, Diego.
Y
Thank
buenas a
you.
todos. Es un
Good
gran
afternoon,
placer
everyone. For me, it's a
estar
great
representando
pleasure
mi
to
isla
be
en un
here to
grupo tan
represent my
aislado.
island.
Tengo la ayuda preciosa de Mar Ramírez porque mi castellano me tropele y algo. Primero voy a presentar a alguien de mi archipiélago hermano. So now I am about to
Y
present
ahora voy a
someone
presentar
that comes
a
from
alguien que
our
viene
sibling
de
islands. These are
nuestras
islands
islas
that
hermanas.
all Madeira people love to visit.
Todas las
Because they
personas de
also are
Madeira
islands,
adoramos
and
visitar
I have
estas
been many
islas. He
times
estado
to
muchas
José
veces
Eduardo Tostes
en
island of
ellas,
Terceira,
en la isla de
and
Terceira,
he
donde
is
es
going to
José
tell us
Eduardo
all about
Toste, y él nos va a contar
how tourism is
infinidad de
planned and
cuestiones
projected
sobre el
on these
turismo
islands. So
y
welcome,
sus
José
planes en
Eduardo
nuestra isla.
Tostes.
Así que bienvenido, José Eduardo Toste.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Buenas tardes a todos.
First of all, of
En
course, I'd
primer
like to thank the
lugar, me
organization
gustaría
for
agradecer a la
inviting the
organización
Azores
por
to participate
invitarme
in this webinar, which I
a
have
estar en
to
este
say in advance that's very
webinario.
well organized with very professional people, and
Está organizado por
congratulations
personas muy
to all of
profesionales
them.
y quiero agradecerles enormemente la
I must
posibilidad de estar
confess,
aquí.
it's the first time
Esta es la primera vez
participate
que participo
as a speaker in
como
an event like this,
ponente
in this
en,
format. Of course,
un formato
it's
de
also new
este
for me,
tipo.
but
Además,
it's something
este
that
tipo
we
de
have to get
formato es
used to it.
nuevo para mí, así que me
And
tengo que
fortunately, there
habituar
is this
a él.
technology that help us
Tengo que
bring all
habituarme a
together,
esta
especially during this
tecnología
period that we are going through.
y, bueno, pues habituarme a usarla, básicamente.
I guess the Azores don't need many
Creo que, bueno,
presentation
las Islas Azores no
because
necesitan una
I
gran
guess most of you
presentación
know
porque creo que
where
muchos de
it is.
ustedes ya saben dónde se
I'm going to share
encuentran.
my
Voy a
presentation so that
compartir mi
goes along with my.
presentación.
Just a second.
Un minutito, por favor.
Okay, so I hope that you are seeing the presentation. So just a brief explanation about the Azores. So, for example, compared to the Canary Islands, our population is much smaller. So we are around 240,000 inhabitants, divided into 9 islands. As for trails, we have. I think I might consider that we have a long experience in trails. So we have an extensive experience creating trails. I believe the first signs trails in the Azores appeared during the 80s, and already around 1980 we had a department in the government that was created specifically to create and to manage our trail network all along the several islands. We have also created specific legislation in the beginning. So when this department was created, we created also specific legislation for the trails, which has been updated. The last update was on 2012, and I believe in the next months we will be updating the legislation again. And one of the main things that make us that we need to revise the legislation is because of the great roots which bring us here today to this topic. So that you have an idea, the Azores from the eastern island of Santa Maria to the western island of Corvo in a straight line is around 600 kilometers. And our network at the moment of trails is almost 700 kilometers. We have mainly short routes, and in the land since 2014, if I'm not wrong, we started creating the great routes in the Azores because we started seeing that the public was demanding that kind of routes. So the islands in green that you see, the smallest islands, are the islands that already have at least one great route. And we are planning to extend great routes to the other islands, but so far we started for the smallest ones, because it plays a great importance for the local economy. As you can see, if we look at São Miguel, the biggest island and also the most populated island of the Azores, we have around 29 short distance routes. But if you look for islands like São Jorge, for example, the one in the center, we have already created 2 long distance routes because that's one of the main things that people look in this kind of islands where the vegetation is really dense and intense, so it makes the experience very much adventurous. So we started looking for these smallest islands as a way of people to look them as a final destination, to keep them there more days on these islands. These islands also, some of these islands also have something in common with, for example, Tenerife. They are biosphere, they belong to the biosphere network, and that also was a great incentive for us to create the long distance routes in these islands. I'm going to start just a small to go one by one. I'll start showing the island of Santa Maria, where there is the great route here as an extension of around 78 kilometers. And we also decided that it was important to divide the great routes in stages. And also something that concerns us is that every stage begins and ends in a small village, because it's a way so that people start and end in a village, and in the beginning or in the end they usually look for the local commerce like a restaurant or a small supermarket, also to call for a car, a taxi. So it's also a better place for them to end in these small villages. If we also a good example on this island that I think it's a good example for the economy that comes after the appearance of these great routes is the example of a company called Ilha a Pé, Island on Foot, if you can translate that. And they rebuilt 5 stone barns along the islands, and they use them as a lodge for the people who are doing this this great route. They can book in advance the homes, and then they can overnight in these places. It's very, very nice accommodations. I guess I have a picture here that I can show you. It's the house on the bottom left. It's this kind of houses that you see that were recovered by a local company, and it's been a great success. And we hope that to see more of these examples on other islands in the future. These are just a few pictures of what you can see in the route on Santa Maria. The next island I'll show you is Graciosa Island. The extent on this island, it also was really important, the creation of this great route in 2015. Especially because it's an island where the landscape is quite flat. So it's also a good challenge for people, usually for senior people who still want to go for longer walks, but with a lower level of difficulty. So this island is very important for this target of people. It's an island that belongs also to the Biosphere Reserve, and it's also important it's also part of one of our trail run events that we have all year round in the Azores. One thing that I also would like to say is that after the appearance of these great routes, the trail run events became really important also in the Azores, and it brings many people especially to these smaller islands, and it's a great event at the time of the year, which people already wait for them. Of course, last year and this year they were cancelled, but we hope to take these events again as soon as possible. Then we have São Jorge, another biosphere island. This one started just with one route in 2016, the eastern part of the island, and last year we add the west part of the island. We add another 52 kilometers. Both are connected, so if people want to do the two routes, they can do it, and it will be around 92 kilometers long. São Jorge is mainly known for their feijões. I don't know how you translate feijões to English, but if you look at the top left picture, it's the flat area that you see almost at sea level, and it's there are many feijões like this in São Jorge Island, and these feijões, they belong to the Biosphere Reserve. It's in my opinion, it's one of the nicest islands for hiking. It's the trails there are of high difficulty levels, so you must be experienced to do the trails on this island. Then we have two great routes left. This one is from Faial. We call it the coast to coast. It was one of the first, or it was the first great route to be created in the Azores. I also like to say that great routes in the Azores, they have been created by the government, while the short routes, usually we have other entities who like to create the routes. For example, town halls, local companies, they might create. They have to submit the trails, the short trails, to the commission. There is a commission that was created for that. They need to approve the trails. But the long routes, because it's more difficult to build, it has a higher demand on the maintenance. So far, it's been the local government that has taken this initiative to create the great routes. Fayal, this was the first one in 2014. Nowadays, it's very famous for also for a trail run that it's taken there. It takes place there every year. This year will be the only one the only trail run to take place. It's a trail run that goes to the 3 islands. They are very close to each other. We call it the Triangle Islands, and so it has brought a great knowledge for people who like to do the trails because of this competition. Also like to add that for Fayal there is another one. There's another great route coming. Probably this year, next year will be ready. We hope to have it ready by probably in 2022. This one will be much bigger. It will be around 100 kilometers, and it will so it will be more around the coast, not as this one that goes through the inner of the island. And finally, these are some of the landscapes that you can see on this route. The famous one is Vulcão dos Capelinhos, which was an active volcano in the 50s that went into eruption, and we still have this landscape as a similar to a lunar landscape. So it's probably the most famous part of the Grand Routes on Fayal. And finally, Flores Island. Flores is also its landscape is a bit similar to São Jorge, with a very dense vegetation and high cliffs, high mountains. So it's also a bit difficult to do this kind of great routes. But it's important for us because we like to get to different targets of people. And Flores plays an important role for people who like to get to go to more adventurous places. This great route was created in 2015, and it's divided into 2 stages. This is some of the landscapes that you can see on Flores Islands. All this information, if you want then to get, if you want to get more information, you can get it on trails.visitazores.com, where you can download leaflets, GPS files, and more information about these hikes. So to finish, the trails, short trails and great routes are one of our strategic touristic products in the Azores. I would say it's the most important one from all that we have, and we have a great variety of different activities, and they have played a very great importance, especially on the smaller islands, because it's an attraction and takes people to go there and stay there longer than usually they would stay. As I said before, every time we create a new great route, we try to see where's the best place to start and then a new stage. So if people want to don't want to overnight or camp on the great route, they can go back to their places. So they end and begin in a small village, because it's also a way to bring them to the local communities. There is a very important partnership with town halls, and especially with the environment department, because most of the maintenance we have the collaboration of the environment. And also, as I As I have mentioned, the sustainability part is also very important for us. I forgot to mention in the beginning of my presentation that in 2019, the Azores were the first archipelago in the world certified as a sustainable destination. So we belong to a short list of 12 regions in 7 countries in the world with the certification, which was carried out by Earthcheck. And we have developed also a sustainability charter to support the adoption of the principles of sustainable development. So far we have around 143 entities which have subscribed more than 500 sustainable commitments to implement in their companies. So this sustainable charter is across the all sectors. It's not only for tourism, but of course we have many of the local companies that belong to tourism. They have subscribed this charter. As you can imagine, in the Azores we have big challenges. As I said, the government is responsible for the great routes here. So one of our greatest challenges is the maintenance. We have some islands where vegetation is really dense, and so we need to keep them clean and the vegetation clean very often. Otherwise, the trail simply vanishes from because the vegetation grows very fast. Another thing that we are really we pay attention very carefully is the signage. Because despite being islands, people can get lost, and so we make sure that the signage is always there so that people don't get lost. We have implemented, or we are implementing a rapid intervention and rescue plan, which is every 500 meters we have a numbered sign, so that people, in case they get lost, they communicate with the rescue authorities, and they say the last numbered sign that they have seen. So then it's easier to get to them. Another challenge that we have and we would like to implement in the future is to have more data about the number of people, or the type of people that do the trails. We don't have that number, so we know by experience how many people or which islands have more people than others doing the trails, but we don't have specific data on trails. And so that's something that we are also trying to implement, also with the local university and our other partners, because it's important for us then to take decisions. And so we hope in the next years to have more information, more data, scientific data that help us taking our decisions. So and now to finish my presentation, I guess if I have time, I'd like to show the video from our trails. It's not only from great routes, but also from short routes. But it's a promotional video that we have from our trails that I would like to share with our audience. And I'll be here, and in case you need any information, any further information, I leave here my contacts that you are welcome to use to reach me. Thank you very much.
Wow. Obrigada, José Eduardo.
Muchas gracias, José Eduardo.
You have left us wanting
Nos has
to go back to those
dejado
islands.
con ganas de
So
volver.
beautiful.
And
I
you are
so
welcome.
much hope that we can come soon.
You are welcome.
Y ahora continuamos en castellano,
To
o
continue
como
in
prefiero decir
Spanish,
en mi
or
portuñol.
as I want to say in
Vamos a continuar
Portuñol.
hasta las Islas Baleares.
We are going to move to the Balearic Island with Joan Febrer.
Que nos va a contar
He's
cómo
going to
es el
talk
día
to
a
us
día
about his
del
daily
Camí de
life
Cabals
in Camí de Cabals 360
es un
degrees.
archipiélago donde yo
The
ya
Balearic
conté
Island
también historias.
is
También
an
conté
archipelago
cuentos
where I have
pero
also told
en
stories,
Mallorca.
but I have been in Mallorca, not
y
in
es un gran
Menorca.
placer.
For me, it's a great pleasure to introduce you, Joan. I give him the floor.
Muchas gracias, Sofía.
Thank you very much, Sofia. First of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here in this interesting webinar regarding hiking in islands.
Los isleños somos enamorados de nuestra isla.
All Icelanders love our islands. We live in special territories and we are very sensitive regarding other islands. I have never been to Azores before, and I really want to go there. I'm going to highlight this travel in my agenda. I'm going to introduce you Camí de Cabals 360 degrees and also the island of Menorca. I'm going to share my screen. Wait a minute, please.
De acuerdo. Camí de Cabals 360 es una
Camí de Cabals 360 degrees is an activity started in 2012.
Es una pequeña agencia de viajes.
We have travel agencies called 40 Degrees North, and we are specialized in organizing this activity, and we offer it to different visitors, tourists who want to come to Menorca and do this path. I created this project in 2012, and then Clara joined also as my project. I'm Joan Febrer, and I'm going to introduce you the island of Menorca and then this Camí de Cabals 360 degrees. First, I'm going to show you a small 1-minute video so you can have an idea of what I'm going to tell you.
Si podéis poner el vídeo.
Can you please put the video? Okay. Menorca, I guess you know where Menorca is located, so you can have an idea. If you don't know exactly where it is, you can find Menorca here and the Canary Islands there. Menorca is at the center of the Mediterranean. is in the eastern part of the Balearic Islands. When you think about Menorca, it's like little Mallorca. It is partly true, but Menorca also has some particular characteristics. This is a special island and it's different from the other island, the other Balearic Islands. As you can see in the picture, it has around 50 kilometers long from coast to coast and 20 kilometers wide. It has around 700 square kilometers. It is not a big island, but we have a wide coast. The highest point on the island is only 350 meters, so it is not a big island. Menorca has some slopes, some hills, but our orography is not too high. In Menorca, we can find different type of ecosystem, Mediterranean ecosystem. It has a wide variety of landscapes, of flora and fauna. And it also has a lot of endemic flora or fauna, as in Mallorca, for example. In this picture, you can see an important part of the central part of the island is covered by forests, mainly pines and olm oaks. And one of the most important trees in Menorca is the wild olive tree. Menorca has an important geological diversity. I have chosen these two images, but I could have chosen many more. One is from the north part of the island and one is from the south part of the island. You can see different type of colors between two images. There are like 4 different colors on the island. White, as you can see on the left, and this is typical from the south part of the island. And there is also red, gray, or even black. On the left image, this I think is the red part. The geological diversity in Menorca dated back from 8 million years. It didn't have a volcanic origin, so the landscapes are very varied. It has Mediterranean climate, and the rocks are very characteristic from this island. This is a typical landscape from our island. It depends on the part you visit, but this type of landscapes is made of geological substrate. Una de las características principales del paisaje de Menorca, que en general es bastante humanizado. And this is a very typical, as I already mentioned, a very typical landscape from Menorca. You can see a road, a very differentiated plots with stones, for example. If you see this landscape from above, from a plate, you can see different plots. Menorca was declared Biosphere Reserve in 1993 by the UNESCO. As you already know, the Biosphere Reserve recognizes a balance between human activity and a respect for nature. There is a balance between these two things.
Eso se traduce en este paisaje muy humanizado. En este
So
caso, aquí vemos un
you
ejemplo
can
de
see an
vacas de
example of
raza,
this with
vaca roja,
the
se llama
cows.
menorquina,
This is
que se
called
está recuperando
red
bastante
cow,
en los
typical
últimos
from
años.
the Menorca island.
Y bueno, la actividad agrícola mantiene a día de hoy bastante
The
este
farming
tipo de
activity
idiosincrasia bastante respetuosa
is
con
very
el tipo de
typical from
paisaje
this
de mosaico de Menorca,
area and is very
y es un
respectful.
poco la responsable en gran parte de la imagen que
And
tenemos hoy en día
this
de
farming
la isla.
activity is also
En
responsible
este
from
sentido,
the
más modernamente a
image
nosotros nos gusta
we
pensar también
have
en el senderismo y el
from
turismo
Menorca.
activo en general
When we think
como
about
otra
active
actividad
tourism,
que también
we think
tiene cabida en una reserva de biosfera, que es una
of
actividad que por supuesto
an
también influye y
activity
transforma el
respectful
paisaje, porque
and an
transcurre por
activity which
caminos,
can be
transcurre por
combined with
entorno
a
natural,
biosphere
pero
reserve.
que si se hace bien lo hace
If
de una
you
forma
practice
sostenible y respetuosa.
active
Hay una
tourism,
interacción
you
entre el
can do
hombre y
it
la
in a
naturaleza
respectful
por
way,
dentro de estos
and there
parámetros de respeto
could be
y
a great
equilibrio.
combination between the human being and a respect for nature.
Toda la isla de Menorca, bueno, la
In
isla de Menorca tiene
Menorca,
principalmente un sendero,
there are
podría
mainly
decirse,
one
aunque en realidad
path,
es una suma de muchos
but it
senderos,
is
caminos
an addition of
de muchos tipos
several
diferentes,
paths.
que es el Camí de Caballs.
And the
Que
name
fue
of it is
reconocido,
Camí de Cabals.
fue homologado como
It was
GR
recognized as
223
GR
hace unos 12 años, si no recuerdo mal.
223
Este es
around
uno de los
10,
hitos
12
muy
years ago.
característicos postes
This
de
is
madera
one
que
of
señalizan
the
esta ruta, que tiene unos 185 kilómetros y
landmarks,
transcurre por todo el litoral de, bueno,
and
no siempre
it
por el
has
litoral, a veces va un poco al interior, pero sí
108
que dibuja
kilometers
bastante todo
long
lo que es el contorno
around
de la isla.
the coast
Es una
mainly.
ruta muy interesante
It is
porque
a very
toda esa
interesting
diversidad que
route
comentábamos que tiene
because
Menorca, en esta
in
ruta
this
de
route you
185
can
kilómetros
discover
que puede hacerse
all
diferente
this
número de etapas dependiendo del perfil de
biodiversity
persona
I
o la
already mentioned.
actividad
The
que uno
routes can
practique,
be
te permite
divided in
visitar
different
como
stages,
muchas islas
and
diferentes,
you
todas
can
ellas se llaman
visit
Menorca, pero son
different
como muchas
islands.
islas en
It's
una,
like
¿no? En muchos
Menorca
contrastes de
divided in
paisajes,
different
muchos
islands.
rincones
You can
diferentes
discover
y
different
un
corners,
sendero muy interesante.
different
Este es un
landscapes.
ejemplo
It is a
de la
very
zona sur.
interesting route. This
Y
is a good
siguiésemos
example
fotos
of
de
the
otras
south
zonas, pues
part of
serían
the
unos colores y
islands.
características
And if we
totalmente
go to other parts of
diferentes.
the island, the colors
Camí
and
de Caballs
the
es
landscapes
un
will be
camino,
totally
era un
different.
camino de
Camí de
ronda que se
Cabals
utilizaba antiguamente para vigilar la
was
costa,
a knoll path.
posibles incursiones de
Its
piratas,
purpose
ataques
was to
enemigos, etcétera.
protect the
Era,
coast
por lo tanto,
from
un camino que tenía
pirates
principalmente
and
una función
enemies,
militar,
so
que la tuvo durante
it had
siglos.
a military
Durante el siglo XX
purpose for centuries.
su uso fue decayendo, sobre
So,
todo después de la guerra civil,
after the
durante la
Civil
posguerra.
War,
Los propietarios
it
de las tierras por las que
became
pasaba el camino lo
abandoned,
fueron cerrando, y cuando en los
and
años
the
80 y
owners
sobre
of
todo 90
lands
la sociedad menorquina, que
almost
siempre había
forgot
conocido la
about
existencia de
this
este camino,
path.
lo quiso
But in the
utilizar para la
90s,
práctica del senderismo,
when
a
people
veces de
decided to
excursión en
use
familia,
this
con
path
un grupo
for
escolar, cosas de este
tourists
tipo,
or
se encontraron
for
que, bueno, que estaba cerrado en muchos casos, y
pupils,
se organizó
they
una
decided
plataforma de
to
asociaciones para
organize a
reivindicar
platform
el
among
uso público
several
y recuperarlo
associations,
para la
and they
población
decided
menorquina
to
principalmente.
recover this
Esto
path,
se consiguió al
especially
final,
for
se aprobó una ley en
the
2001
locals. In
que
2001,
permitió recuperar todos estos tramos
a
que
law
estaban
was
cerrados
passed,
y se
and
señalizó
these
hace unos
different paths
12 años más o
were
menos,
recovered,
10
and
años, que la ruta
around
está
10 years,
señalizada
this
íntegramente.
route
Por lo tanto, es a la
started
vez un
to
camino muy
work
antiguo,
again. So
porque tiene muchos
it is
siglos de historia,
once,
y a la vez
it
un
is at the
camino muy
same time
nuevo,
a
porque está
old
viviendo
road,
ahora
but also a
como una
new
nueva etapa, ¿no?
road.
de su
It's
vida,
like
que es cuando está
living
quizás
a
más de
new
moda
life.
que nunca, ¿no? Porque claro, esto ha resultado que al final tiene un potencial,
At the end of the
atractivo
day,
turístico para el
this
senderismo
path
muy interesante.
has a great potential for visitors.
A la vista un poco de esta
As you can
recuperación del
see
camino
in
y
the
demás,
image,
nosotros en 2012
in 2012,
decidí
I decided to start this project, and I offer this path, this Camí de Cabals path, in different stages. And at the end of the stage, we also offer accommodation. There are also long stages, and sometimes you can't find an accommodation, but in this case, we transfer the visitors to an accommodation, of course. We transfer people to a nearby village, for example. We started this project in 2012. It was very, very welcome. At the beginning, I started alone, and nowadays there are even 10 people working in this project. We have increased the number of our workers, and the reason why we have increased is because we work with small groups, like 2 people. This is the typical type of group we work with. 2 people with a very personal treatment. We customize the experience of our visitors. We offer hiking, trekking, mountain bike. You can do some stages by bike or by foot. For Menorca, Camí de Cabals, and for us, this has meant an important counterpoint, an important balance to the typical type of tourism you can find in Menorca, and it's totally different from the traditional type of tourism, from the sport tourism. We are a good balance regarding the sun and beach tourism. In Menorca, you can also find other activities, for example, active tourist activities, and we are a very good addition, a very good supplement to this type of tourism. And I think this is very important because Menorca has changed his tourist image in the last year, and even the way locals see Menorca. Menorca has nowadays added value apart from beaches and sun. And people want to know our natural values and want to practice this type of activities. Apart from this Camí de Cabals 360 degrees, we also organize a 3-stage run, an epic Camí de Cabals 360 degrees. You can do it by foot or by bike. Last year we were going to celebrate the 6th edition, but it was cancelled one day before the lockdown in March. This year I hope we can celebrate it in November, hopefully. And well, this is a summary of Menorca, of Camí de Cabals 360 degrees, of our project. If you want to find out more information, you can visit our website. You can find it here on the screen. You can find here more information about Menorca. You can also find our email if you want to get in contact with us, our phone number. And well, that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to be here and to be able to share our experience, our island, our common project. This is a very interesting event. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Joan.
Thank you very much,
Qué lindo,
Joan.
qué distinto, qué
This is
diferente.
so different, so
Es muy
beautiful.
lindo que esas islas que
It is
están
great,
algo
this
cerca,
island,
pero
these
son
more or
tan
less
únicas,
nearby
¿no es?
islands. These are
Y,
unique
ahora
islands.
vamos a
Now
escuchar a
we are
Valerio
going
del
to
Rosario, que es
listen
director
Valerio del Rosario,
Nature
which
Experience.
is the director of El Cardón Nature Experience. I haven't been able to storytelling in Tenerife yet, but hopefully one day. Now I give the floor to Valerio. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Do you listen to me? I think we have some technical problems.
Después, en cuanto resuelven el
As
problema técnico,
this problem is solving, I will give the floor to Valerio. Well, first I have a surprise for the beginning of the webinar, but I would like you to memorize, to get the image of the cows at the Joan's picture, because in my surprise you will find something related to this image, to the poetry of the moment. I don't know if Valerio is online. Not yet. So I'm going to wait for him, and maybe I'm going to introduce something about my island. If you don't know it, Madeira is an Atlantic island. It is in the north part of the Canary Island. We have something in common with Tenerife. Personally, I'm passionate about dragos.
Técnicamente no un árbol, es una planta.
Drago is a type of plant, a dragon tree. In Tenerife, you can find very, very old dragon trees, and I really want to go there to visit them. In Madeira, we also have dragon trees. We also have something you can also find in Azores and in the Canary Island. We also have a laurel forest here, protected by the UNESCO, and we have different paths going through this laurel forest. We have a long path here. There are different types of them. The most classic one and the easiest one, because it is always flat, and this is weird because we are a very mountainous island. It is called levadas. The levadas are like water paths. Well, we have some question for José.
José, are you ready for some questions?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we have someone here saying that you have chosen the sustainable tourism as a great model for the Azores. And one of the questions that has come up is, what other products do you have apart from the hiking that you are promoting for the islands?
Yeah, yes, of course, it's a good question indeed. One of our we have several products that people can, several experiences that people can have in the Azores, and a good thing about it is that some of them, they are peculiar to different islands, so which make this the Azores as a great destination, and with a very large diversity, because different islands have different things to offer. I can give you some examples. One that is, I would say, almost transversal. How do you say? So across all the islands is is whale watching, because it's also a part with the trails, maybe the second most the second product that people look for when they come here, to have this chance to have this meeting with different species of cetaceans that we have here. Then there are several islands. There are other smaller products, but they play very important role on small islands. For example, canyoning is also a very good experience that we have in different islands. Some of them, like São Jorge and Flores, we have very high waterfalls that and make this experience very unique. Diving is also another product that we have many companies here, small companies, investing on this activity. There is another one that the government is now working to structure this the offer, which is the cultural tourism. Because the Azores, as most of you, when most people think about the Azores, they think about nature, and they forget that in the Azores we lived isolated for many centuries, and that allowed us to develop our own culture that is still alive on every island. And so that is something that we also want to promote in the future, and we are working now along with these sustainable goals, because we want to involve the communities. And so I would say that this is probably our next new product that we will be promoting in the next years, along with all the different nature activities.
Ah, great. We have another question here, and that has to do with you say that you have not got a lot of data as to numbers of people walking these trails, but do you have a sort of overall profile of the kind of visitors that come to the Azores?
Well, yes, we do. There is usually this inquiries that we do to the visitors, mainly at the airport when they are leaving the Azores, and so based on this, we can get an idea of the kind of people that visit us, and so I would say that around 92% of them, they come specifically to be in contact with nature. And from these people, around 40%, they come specifically to do the trails and hikings. So, and we are talking about people over 40. The great majority is between the 40 and 60 years old. They have a higher education, so a higher degree or university degree. They are very environmentally aware, so they know. They have this conscience about the environment, and I would say it's small groups, even families, couples. So we don't see bigger groups, bigger organized groups coming here. It's mainly couples with or without children, small family groups that come here. Our main markets, it's mainly from Central Europe. They are used to do this long distance trails, but mainly from the Central Europe. And also we start seeing every year more and more Americans and Canadians also, because we have direct flights to these two countries, and we are also betting. These are two markets that are growing very fast in the Azores. So we also are seeing more and more Americans and Canadians.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because even here in Madeira, we feel a higher presence of Americans, of North Americans and Canadians, exactly because of your flights that come directly. And there are companies working on the conjugation of the two archipelagos, Azores and Madeira, which is interesting. We have another question for you, which is a tough one. And it is, if you had to choose one island to visit in the Azores, if it was your first time coming to the Azores, which would be the most complete?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
It's really tough. Well, it will depend if you, as I said, at the level of your experience, of what you are looking for. But I don't dare to answer to that question. I'm sorry if I'm disappointing someone. But you have to see what you want to do. If it's more adventurous, if you want something more adventurous, probably you would go. I would recommend you to go to São Jorge or Flores and Corvo, because you also have Corvo nearby. But these two islands are very they have a more adventurous side of a trip. If you are looking something that you want to a bit of local experience with local community, a bit of heritage cities and nature at the same time, some spas, I would recommend you maybe to go to São Miguel or Terceira. If you are looking, if you are short on time and you want to see several islands, probably if you go to Pico, São Jorge and Faial, they are very close to each one. So you can, in 30 minutes, you can get to another island, so you have more time to see the other islands. So it will depend on what you are looking for, but all the islands, they have something different to offer as an experience.
And another question for José: what are the private companies' requirements from the tourist board services to keep competitive in their hiking tourism offer?
Well, they have legal obligations for now, so that it's more like the legal ones. They have to be enrolled in the tourism office. They have to have all the legal documentation from the social securities and finances, everything. So it's a requirement. And now for hiking, so far we don't have any kind of specification that we ask. Of course, we leave that for the market, because the good companies that they work well, that they have good staff, well-trained staff, they will have better performance in the market, and people will choose these companies. But apart from that, we don't have any big requirements for them. Of course, we are now doing this work along with the sustainability chart. We are trying to have companies to join this chart, so they have their own environmental commitments, and that they have to implement them in their activities. But apart from that, we don't have anything different from other regions, I believe.
And how easy is it to, you mentioned when you hopping from island to island, how easy is the travel between islands?
Well, we have here you can either travel by sea or by air. We have a local airlines, the SATA Air Azores, with daily connections to every island, so it's quite easy to get to any island on the same day. And then in summer we have We have the boat connections between the islands and between the group of islands, because as you've seen in my presentation, the Azores, they are divided into 3 groups of islands. So the distance between the groups of islands sometimes it's around 10 hours maybe. But in summer we have the ferries that also allow people to travel with car if they want. They won't find that offer in winter, but during summer they will. So it will depend. And if you are, as I said, in the central group islands, mainly in those 3 islands we call the triangle islands, then all year round you have boat connections between those islands.
Okay, thank you, José.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yo no estoy oyéndolo bien. Podríamos
Ay.
intentarlo, pero teniendo en cuenta que podría fallar, ¿vale?
Juan, ¿te puedo hacer unas preguntas?
Claro que sí.
Entonces, ¿podrías comentarnos algunas aportaciones que hayas hecho en tu proyecto Camí de Cavalls para conseguir que sea más sostenible, contribuir para el desarrollo económico local de las zonas rurales por las que pase y en general a un turismo más responsable y respetuoso?
Bueno, principalmente nosotros en la definición de nuestro proyecto y un poco las decisiones que siempre vas tomando a lo largo de los años para definir tu actividad y tu empresa, siempre ha sido un tema que nos ha preocupado. Yo creo que la principal medida ha sido orientar nuestra actividad hacia, en este caso, como decía, pequeños grupos que hace que nuestros participantes se dispersen mucho en todos los kilómetros de la ruta y evitar en lo posible las concentraciones de personas en espacios sensibles, espacios naturales sensibles. Yo creo que esto a nivel es como una medida más estructural. En su día decidimos no trabajar con agencias que nos llevasen grupos grandes ni organizar grupos numerosos, sino dedicarnos solamente a estos grupos pequeños.
Big groups, we just want small groups. In every material, in our leaflets, in the run we organize, we also want to promote teaching side. We think responsibility and environmental awareness does not want just by reading a book. Teaching and information is very, very important, but also be in contact with nature. This is the moment when this environmental awareness is born. And this will be very important for the decision making. So we organize an activity to be in contact with nature, and we are also aware of our capacity to have an impact on the people's mind. So if people want to participate in our 3 days run, we want to have an impact in the post habits of these people in the future. For example, we recommend people not to use one single-use plastics. We penalize, for example, people if they throw out papers, for example. We penalize them in this run with 1 hour more. We haven't had a lot of cases. They know we are very strict in this sense. And since 2017, we had a project to preserve Camí de Cavalls. We want our activity not only to be a sustainable activity, but also an activity which promotes some improvements in nature. This is a resource. This is not our resource. It's a resource for everyone. And as a local company, we also feel responsible to protect this project. We are raising funds on the part of our participants. We also make donation for every participant we have. And in general, we have collected around 30,000 euros. This amount has been aimed at renovating some parts of this path, some cobbles of the path, the paving, and now we are waiting to carry out other activities aimed at palliate the erosion of roads.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Joan.
Entonces,
Then I think we have the pleasure to have Valerio del Rosario online. Tenerife,
Sí, hola, buenas
do you
tardes.
listen to me?
Perdón.
Yes, good
Nada,
afternoon.
estoy muy
Sorry,
contento de estar
sorry.
esta
I'm
tarde
very
aquí
happy to be
en
here
casa, en
this
nuestro
evening
festival,
at
porque
home
así
in
nos
our
sentimos las empresas
festival.
de turismo activo
This
de
is
Tenerife, las de
how
nuestro
the
sector.
active tourist companies
Llevamos
here in
6 años
Tenerife
participando en
feel.
él, de
We have
todas
been
maneras,
participating
este
in
año
this
también,
festival for
con lo que
6
para nosotros es un
years.
honor estar
So for
compartiendo,
us, it's a
pero al mismo
great
tiempo estoy muy
honor
contento,
to
estoy un
be
poco
here. I'm
enfadado,
very
porque
happy,
todavía en
but
pleno siglo
a
XXI
bit
pasan cosas
angry
como esta,
because
y
in
en
the
lugares tan remotos
21st
como donde están nuestras empresas, en
century,
el noroeste de la isla, muy lejos
we also have
del área
problems
metropolitana,
like this
siguen sucediéndose estos apagones
because we have these
energéticos que nos dejan con un directo tan complicado, lo siento por los compañeros de la organización y
shutdowns.
por ustedes también, por todos los
Sorry
trabajadores,
to
pero
I'm
seguimos
sorry to
completamente
the
la luz, por eso no
organization
pueden ir
because
adelante y la
there
telefonía en
has
esta
been
zona.
a
A ver si
shutdown
puedo
in
tener
the area.
5
So I hope
minutitos
at
largos
least to
para
have
contarles
5 minutes
lo que les
to
venía a
tell
transmitir, que
you
es
something
nuestra experiencia.
about
Nuestra
our
empresa, El Cardón, que lleva
experiences.
ya casi
Our
25 años
company,
trabajando
El
en el
Cardón, we
ecoturismo en la isla,
started 25
muy variados
years
además, actividades,
ago. We
alojamiento, un
have
poco
a
de todo,
wide
consultoría también
variety
turística.
of activities.
Tenía desde hace años en mente las ganas, desde hace bastantes años, las ganas de tener una travesía de montaña, una
I
travesía de
wanted
senderismo,
to have
deporte turístico en la isla.
a
Es un tema que venía
tourist
rondando
path
nuestras cabezas desde hace
here in
mucho
Tenerife.
tiempo y nos lanzamos ya en los
And
últimos
well,
años
we
a
decided
reformarlo,
to
¿no?
create this
Voy a
new
compartir
format.
la
I'm going
presentación
to
un
share
segundo.
a presentation. 1 second, please.
A ver. Ok. Latitud Tenerife se llama este proyecto. Lo llamamos así, la experiencia definitiva del senderismo en la
So,
isla de Tenerife, un poco el
Latitud
nombre así de guerra
Tenerife
que
is the name
hemos
of
dado.
our
Como les decía, son varios años dándole
experience.
vueltas, ¿no?
We have
a
been
tener una
thinking
travesía
in this
de
project
montaña que
for
cruzara la isla.
several
No es
years.
una idea que venga de cualquier... que está impregnada de cosas que ya funcionan, ¿no? Evidentemente.
Idea
Nos fijamos en modelos. Hay un camino que es el camino por antonomasia en nuestro país y en Europa y
has
quizás en el mundo, que es el
different
Camino de Santiago,
origins.
¿no?
For
Y yo creo que
example,
todos
we
lo
have
hemos tenido ahí siempre uno
we
de los
have thought
referentes, ¿no?
about
Una
the
de las
Camino de
travesías del
Santiago,
senderismo más,
one of the
por
most
la connotación un poco más
important paths
religiosa o más espiritual. No todo el
in
mundo
our
hace el
country.
Camino de Santiago,
Not
lo hace con esa
everyone, for example,
filosofía, ¿no?
doing the
Pero
Camino de
además incluso en nuestra
Santiago
tierra también
thinks
teníamos alguna
about
travesía de montaña
the
más
religious
amateur hecha
side.
por el mundo montañero, como la travesía Cesario Tejedor, que tiene 50 años, la
And for
Faro a
example,
Faro.
there are other
De todo
paths,
eso y de las
Cesario
ganas de tener un
Tejedor,
poco este tipo de
from
actividad en la isla,
lighthouse to
ve
lighthouse.
Latitud Tenerife, esta
And
experiencia
Latitud Tenerife, this
que cruza la isla de
experience,
Tenerife de punta a
the aim
punta.
of this experience is to
Yo
cross
creo que
the
ya
island from
perfecto habrá
side
marcado
to
y
side.
son 6 ediciones y muchos conocen pues las características
Many
de nuestra
people
isla para la práctica
participating
del
in this
senderismo,
festival already
a
know
pesar de ser una
about
isla tremendamente
this
turística y con
company,
una
about
cantidad
this
de residentes y de
path.
visitantes muy
And
importante,
Tenerife
tenemos también
has
la
an
bondad de que
important
tenemos
part of
prácticamente
locals
casi
and
la mitad de nuestro
visitors
territorio
practicing
protegido, es más, un lugar
hiking.
protegido,
In Tenerife,
y
we have
tenemos además una de las
a
grandes ventajas que da
wide
hacer
variety of
senderismo en islas
protected
con mucho relieve como
areas.
Tenerife,
And for
de
example,
poder
hiking
hacer
in very
tanto
mountainous
actividades puntuales como travesías,
islands
como Latitud de Tenerife, en las que
is
empezamos en cota
very
cero y
interesting. For
terminamos en
example,
cota
in
cero,
Latitud
empezamos en el mar y
Tenerife, we
terminamos en el mar y
started
podemos
at
alcanzar
0 meters
alturas,
at
como
the
en el
sea
caso de
level, and we
Tenerife,
finish also at 0 meters at the sea level.
3.715
And we
metros, depende de
can
la
go
edición que
from
tomemos en
0
la última
meters
reciente
to
del pico Teide, el pico más alto
3,718
del territorio nacional
meters.
de España, ¿no?
to the top of the Mount Teide, the highest mountain in Spain, as you already know. You can do this in Latitude Tenerife. This is a path. You can do it throughout the year due to our excellent climate. We have a spring climate throughout the year, and it's amazing to practice hiking. There you can see some images. I don't want to talk for a long time. Latitude de Tenerife had a challenge at the beginning. Our territories has developed very linked to cars. So we wanted to create a path so people can go from one side of the island to the other side, but just by foot. We were very aware of security and safety. We had to find a very good path. We wanted a path to be done in just a few days. So this was one of our first challenges. We wanted a certified path to be traveled in just 5, 6, 7 days from one side of the island to the other side. And at the end of each stage, we wanted people to have an accommodation. And this was very, very difficult, but we managed to find the solution. This format is very, very new. We started 2 years ago. The last year was not to be count. So this is a very, very new experience. People have a route book, some stage tracks, GPS tools. They are also monitored at all times. And visitors can also have a guide too. They can book a guide, and they can go through some of the most important natural spaces on the island. We started in Punta de Teno, and we finished on the other side of the island in the Anaga Rural Park, in Punta del Hidalgo, in the Punta del Hidalgo lighthouse, just at the coast, with amazing cliffs, with pine forest, with laurel forest, with volcanoes, with recent volcanoes. We can find lavas from 100 years ago. We can also discover the Teide National Park. We have two levels. One goes to the top of the Mount Teide, and the other one just go to the national park. The difficulty level is quite high for experienced hikers, and we want to get to everyone. First is just to do by foot, but we are also working in other type of other type of path, for example, to do it running or by bike, for example. Is this not only a physical challenge, not just to finish the path, but we also want visitors to get to know some symbols of the island. We want people to live these symbols, to take photos with these symbols, to taste these symbols. For example, the cheese from the Teno mountains, the almond trees in the south of the island, the Teide volcano, the pine typical from the Canary Island, the laurel forests, this magical forest in Anaga. These are very, very important to us. Here you can find some of these symbols, as I already said. And I've said this route is mainly done by foot. We have two difficulty levels, one medium level and one advanced level. You can ascend to El Teide, and if you don't want, you don't have to ascend to El Teide. There are 6 stages in both levels, and we are working in other type of experiences in order to get to families too. This is also a personal challenge, also an spiritual challenge. You can enjoy this experience with friends in an amazing and unique ecosystem. You can go from the sea level to the top of the mountain if you want. You can do it throughout the year. You can do it every single day in Tenerife. It is a new activity, it is a recent activity. It is a very recognized activity. In 2019, it was awarded by the best tourist product in Fitur 2019. We have had around 100 people enjoying this activity. Well, here you can see some of their opinions. We thought at the beginning it was a product for people outside Tenerife, for tourists, but then we realized Latitude was also a product for locals. In Tenerife, there are 1 million people, and many locals are interested in crossing the island from one side to the other side. So I think this is a very good product for locals. You can do it, this experience, in a week. If you don't have time, you can also do it only during the weekends, or you can do it once a month, for example. So locals are also enjoying this experience. Just to summarize, sorry, this is Latitude Tenerife. This is a new approach to visit by foot Tenerife. We have a long way to go. We have a lot of work ahead. We need to improve signals. We also need to create some accommodations in some parts of the island.
Para que realmente este tipo de iniciativas se fortalezcan y adquieran total fuerza, ¿no? Esto a grandes rasgos es Latitud y les dejo.
So this is Latitude. So I'm going to leave you with a very short video to introduce you our company.
¿Has sentido alguna vez el latido de las montañas? ¿Has sentido alguna vez el latido de las montañas? A cada paso estarán más cerca de ti. Latitud Tenerife. Una experiencia para viajeros.
Bueno, esto es Latitud.
Well, this is Latitude. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Valerio. Y ahora
Thank you, Valerio.
pasamos a continuar las preguntas.
And now we are going to continue with some questions. Joan, we have another question for you.
Es que si ¿Tus clientes tienen alguna
Your
posibilidad de
clients have
compensar la
the
huella de carbono de
opportunity
su viaje a
to
través de vuestra compañía?
compensate the environmental footprint in your company?
De momento no.
Not
Es un tema
now.
que hace un par de años nos
A couple of years
planteamos
ago, we
poder
thought
ofrecer o
about this
solucionar de algún modo,
possibility,
pero de momento
but
no
not
tenemos esta
yet.
posibilidad.
We don't offer this
Hemos
possibility yet.
valorado opciones y
We
esperamos
have
que
thought
durante
about
este año, si es
several
posible, lo
possibilities,
podamos
and we hope
ofrecer.
to introduce this
Bueno,
possibility in the coming year.
Para José Eduardo.
Another question for José Eduardo.
We have another
José
question
Eduardo,
for
tenemos
you.
otra
If because many of the places that you mentioned are natural reserves, are there any prerequisites that companies need to be working in these nature reserves?
Well, yes, for that there is. So if companies want to work with inside the natural reserves, they need to attend the natural park courses that we provide every year. So and the companies and their staff they have to be certified by this course. Also, if they want to create their own trails, because it's also possible. We have the public trails from the network that I told you about. But if they want to have their own trails, they can also design their trails. But if they go through the natural reserves, they also need to have the permission from the environment. Also, another specification is also if it's very specific for Pico Island, which is the island with the highest mountain of Portugal, around 2,300 meters. If you want to climb the mountain and if you want to sell this trail, you also need to have a specific mountain course for that area. So that's a legal obligation for the companies. Yeah.
Thank you. Y Valerio,
we had a question for you.
¿Qué les inspiró para crear un producto de
What was your
así
inspiration to
Tenerife?
create a tourist product like that in Tenerife? Well,
Well,
as I already said, the non-existence of a tourist product like that was our inspiration to create this experience. There are companies offering hiking experiences in some parts of the island, but a tourist by himself or herself cannot just go from one side to the island to the other side. It's like Camino de Santiago in Tenerife, but not from a religious side, but just to be in contact with nature. In Latitude, we also mentioned the travel Cesario Tejedor. This travel started 50 years ago. We were inspired by this path from lighthouse to lighthouse, and this is an amazing path. We do our path from Punta de Teno to Punta de Anaga, from one side to the other side of the island. We were inspired by this, and we also had the possibility to analyze the different paths we have in the island. And this is an important path we already have in Tenerife, and we were inspired by this first path, as our colleague from Menorca already said. And we just wanted to offer this path and to improve local products. We have difference regarding Camille de Cabals, but it is a similar path here in Tenerife. Thank you very much, Valerio. Sofia, we are running out of time, so I would like to do a summary. As Diego Fernandez told us before, we can find unique experiences and unique paths. We just want to hike first in Azores. This is the first archipelago declared as a sustainable archipelago. We cannot wait to go there and hike. And locals are very important for the path in Azores. They contribute a lot in this path, and they are an integral part of them. Also, administrations, authorities, and companies have contributed to the signaling. Visitors are important too, to improve, to make this path alive. And if we move to Menorca, to the Biosphere Reserve, this is amazing. This is an old road, and now it's a new product. This is a very, very interesting and attractive experience. A valid added experience, a value added experience. So this is also the key. We want to have a balance between human and nature. And I think Joan has managed to do that. And finally, Valerio, it was amazing to listen to you. We cannot wait to go through this latitude experience. You have been awarded with several awards in the last year. This is a very attractive product, both for locals and for foreigners. These have been three amazing examples. Paths by themselves are important depending on distances, time, your personal challenge. But these paths are important by themselves, and it is also important the people we find in this path, the experts or the visitors, these people we find in this path, not only the Camino de Santiago, but also all the paths. In Madeira, I met Sofia Maul. She's a storyteller. I met her in Madeira. She knows how to interpret the landscape of this island. She makes these islands alive. And I think this is the best way to finish this webinar. So please, Sofia, go ahead. Thank you very much, Mar. Yes, I'm going to tell a very short story from Galeta in the west part of the island. There were a man and a woman living together long time ago. But they had something special. And they never argued. They lived well. They took care of vineyards, and she sued to get some money, but the vineyards were ill at a moment, and they didn't have anything to eat. They didn't have bread, so they decided to sell the most precious thing they have, and this was this was Morena. Do you remember the picture of the Joan's cows? This was like that. This was Morena had pink snout. It was fat and cozy. They love her very much. and they were very, very sad. But Antonio took the cow through the levada to sell it on the market. But suddenly he found a man on the road and he said, well, don't you want to change this cow for a goat? And Antonio looked at the goat and said, well, okay. And then they swap the cow for the goat. And then he kept on working, and there was another man who wanted to change the goat for a sheep. And then he swapped again. Then he kept on working with the sheep, and then another man found out. And this man wanted to change the sheep for a cock. And well, okay, they swap. And then he kept on working with the cock on his hand, and then he started to smell something, to smell something very, very familiar. And it was bread. It was bread coming out of the oven. And then he just came and entered the market, and he swapped the cock for a bread. And when he ate the bread, he discovered, oh my God, I don't have anything in my pocket, I don't have anything in my hand. So he went back home, and when he arrived home, he found a neighborhood saying, hello Antonio, how was your business today? And he explained everything, and the neighbor said, oh my God, when you arrive home, you are going to argue with your wife. Oh no, Maria never argues with me. But if you went out of the house with a fat cow and you arrive without anything, you are going to fight, of course. No. I bet you the money of the cow that when you arrive home, you are going to argue. No, Maria is not going to do that. But if you insist, okay. So Antonio went home, and the neighbor was behind him. And when he arrived home, he said, Maria, I arrived. How was Antonio? How was everything? How was your business today? Not really good, not as we thought, because I found a man who wanted to swap the cow for a goat. Okay, Antonio, it's perfect. The goat is perfect. We have milk too. But then I found another man who wanted to swap the goat for a sheep. Oh, Antonio, this is great. In winter, we won't be cold because we will have a warm hat. But later on, I found another man who wanted to swap the sheep for a cock. And then, who knows who is going to be happy? The priest, because the cock sings in the morning, and then we arrive just on time to the mass. But you know, I love bread, and the smell was so great, and I couldn't stand but to change the cock for a bread. Oh my God! Of course! You were starving, and if you have a cock, it was okay. And the neighbor who was behind him, he couldn't do anything but gave them the money. And this just proves that
entendimiento en la familia.
family
Todo se puede hacer en paz y armonía,
are
que son las reglas del buen vivir.
okay, and when they
¿Verdad o no?
respect each other, everything goes well. This is so true, Sofia. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your story. Thank you very much for reminding us your path in Madeira. Thank you very much, every speaker. Thank you very much for your experiences and for make us remember that there are great islands to hike. As José Gregorio Martín Plata already said at the opening days, these are great islands to visit. Tomorrow we will have another webinar and we will talk about new destinations important regarding hiking. Tomorrow we will have another webinar, another online webinar. So see you tomorrow and thank you very much. Bye, thank you.